Hello and welcome to this conversation on Got Clutter, Get Organized. I'm excited because I have Melinda Van Fleet, and she is an author. She is a certified business and life coach, and she's also a fellow podcaster. So, Melinda, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Janet. I'm so excited to talk to you again. This is going to be super fun. Thank you.
So, before we get into decluttering and how that can block manifestation, I would love for you just to share what made you decide to be a certified life and business coach.
Yes. So I was doing a lot of coaching when I was in the corporate world for 16 years. I managed really large teams and I learned a lot. I also had a coach during that time frame, which really opened my eyes to the way that you can really help people. So fast forward, my husband and I both got laid off from our jobs at the same time in 2009. I got laid off in January, and then he was laid off at the beginning of June. And we moved to the Florida Keys without knowing anyone, with no jobs, hardly ever any money, and we never even been here. And we started over completely from scratch. We created a sport fishing, which is also now a coaching business with my husband, Good Karma Sport Fishing. And then I became a sales rep, which was part of my big goals. And so back in 2009, when we were really struggling and down in the dumps, and it was really, really, really painful for several years as we were like figuring things out and getting our act together, I said to my husband, someday when we get our quote unquote beep together, we will help others. So I've always just had it in my heart. I think those seeds were planted when I was in the corporate world. And like I said, I had a coach helping me be a better leader that I really wanted to be able to do the same. You know, we all have these amazing life lessons. So being able to help others in their journey too, who may be just a little bit, behind us, we're just a little bit ahead, and the coaches we've had are a little bit ahead. It's just kind of like this big evolution and journey has just been part of my goals and dreams. So now I'm doing it.
And that is wonderful because what you and your husband offer is so needed because I have a coach and I can just see in my own life how it's really helping me to excel. So let's talk about decluttering and manifestation. Like, what are some, I guess, in my mind, when you don't get rid of clutter or things or declutter, you really block it. So, can you kind of go a little bit more in detail about the relationship between decluttering and manifestation?
Yeah, and I honestly had never really experienced it until the last few years. So when my husband and I moved down here, we had, really gutted and gotten rid of like everything. And I didn't think much of it, right? So we moved down here, we moved into a small condo for about 2.5 years, and I became a sales rep. And then we moved into a very large duplex, and large for the keys, that had lots of closets and cabinets and all this space. And when you are somewhere for 9.5 years and you've been a sales rep, so you get like cool things and you decide to
Mhm.
keep them. And I never considered myself a hoarder, but I ended up accumulating all of these things. So what happened in, about 2020 into 2021, I started to get very frustrated with the feeling of being stuck in our lives. I wanted to move forward into coaching. I was really excited for my business to grow. I wanted to release being a sales rep. We were starting the coaching aspect of Good Karma Sport Fishing. And I started as a very impatient Aries, which a lot of people can relate to. I was like, why isn't this happening now? Why isn't this
Mhm.
happening now? Why aren't I moved for
Mhm.
it now? And I get very
Mhm.
frustrated. And we were also at a place with COVID that rents were starting to go up, right? People from the north were starting to move to the Keys because you could work remotely. So rents were starting to raise. And so we were also having this like looming presence that we knew we were going to have to move. We knew she was going to raise the rent. We knew these things were going to happen. So I ended up having like a complete mental breakdown. Some people call it the dark night of the soul, where you're just like screaming at the universe. Why aren't we moving forward? I'm so frustrated and just very, very angry. And after that time, so that was fall of 2021, I was like, we just have to release all of this. We have to release this house. We have to release this pressure we've put on ourselves. We just have to release it. And that's a huge part of manifestation, is the surrendering part of it. So I'd already put all these like goals and dreams out there. I've been doing the work, taking the action, believing, trusting, especially based on the past evidence that we had, but I hadn't really surrendered to the process, right? So bringing us into 2022, I started to look around and I was like, we have way too much, I'm going to use your word, clutter.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, we need to start getting rid of some of this stuff. And so the first thing I hit was personal development books. I was like, I have stacks and stacks and stacks of personal development books. Some I love. Some have been great tools, great resources. I love the story. But I'd say 75% were books that I was like, this is, basic stuff that I know now. I don't need to keep this book. So I started filling bags. I spent a whole weekend filling bags of personal development books and donated them to an organization here in the Keys where they could then benefit from all of those books. And that just started the whole journey of decluttering our house. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I ended up watching the Kardashians and got inspired by Khloe Kardashian and how organized her pantries are with all of her goodies. And I was like, I'm going to organize my bathroom closet. And I took a whole Sunday and like organized the whole thing and gutted like garbage cans of like old lip glosses, old eyeshadows, like all these things. Like, I don't need all this, old nail polishes, just stuff, like things people giving me, samples from hotels, like you name it, threw it away. And it just started to release like more and more and more things. And I just went room by room, like every weekend on a Sunday, just was really organized and disciplined about it, and was like, I'm just going to like do this. And then what ended up happening in November, so literally August, September, October, November, we got a surprise email from our landlord that said we had to move. And it was a surprise. We weren't expecting that. So that was a little bit of a shock, but that was the universe saying like, okay, it's time. It's time for you to
Mm-hmm.
go. And we ended up finding a new place very quickly. People were shocked. They were like, how did you find a place so quickly? And the place that we live in now it's not 100% what my big dreams are on my vision board, but
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but it has so many of the aspects that I had been working on manifesting, like when I was surrendering and but still having, positive conversations with my husband. I was like, we're going to sit on the porch and have our coffee. And now we have a big screened in porch. I do Instagram posts from my porch now and YouTube videos from my porch. We have a homeowner's beach. That was something that I had blogged about. I used to go to a homeowner's beach, and it got closed down, and it broke my heart several years ago. And now we have one. So like all these things just really ended up like taking place. And honestly, I swear it was because I started to declutter our house.
And I agree, Melinda, because I feel that you and your husband were able to find a place so fast because you were ready. Because
Mm-hmm.
you
We're
know,
ready.
people, yeah, because people find out, oh, I gotta move, and that is a whole process of the packing, the letting go, the crying, the screaming. But you guys were ready, so that's a wonderful example. And actually, I am going to, because I just got a text from a friend, and I know she's going through a transition, and part of that transition is she's going to have to let go of some stuff. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
excited. I'm excited. So, Melinda, if somebody's listening to you and they're getting excited and inspired, but then also they open up either that closet or that room and they get a little overwhelmed, how would you tell them just to kind of really just get started without
Mm-hmm.
feeling like, oh my goodness, I just want to shut the door and just not do it at all?
Yeah, because once you do get started, it becomes like inspiring, right? You're like
Hmm.
kind of get into it. So it is getting over that initial fear, which goes with anything in our lives, right? Like, and there's Joe Dispenza talks about this. We like to sit in our comfort because that's what we know, versus taking that little step outside of our comfort zone. But then once you're like in the process, like you're like, okay, then not so bad. So if you can remember something like that, that as a story that you can, just kind of say to yourself, for me, it really is about blocking the time, to be really honest. Not thinking that I'm going to like tackle this chaotic clutter mess in like an hour, really
Hmm.
giving myself, a day, a half a day, and really planning for it is really just kind of being like, okay, create your own little like Zen moment and be like, okay, this is going to be really cool when this is done, and give yourself the time to do it, so you're not stressing out your nervous system in the process. So yeah,
That's a
we've
good.
all been there.
That's Yeah, and that's a good idea. Like giving yourself the time, because I think some people say, "Oh, I want to do it on set," but like you said, give yourself the time. So,
Mhm.
Melinda, with everything, because you're married, and of course you have your clients, and of course I see your Instagram posts. You're having fun. Like, how do you organize your life or just manage it all? Just be able to do all of that.
You really want to know?
Yes, I do. Because you can inspire some people. Because people, they see us on. See, and sometimes people think just like some magical something, but really sometimes it's everybody getting their own tools and strategies. So thank
Mhm.
you for sharing that. But yeah,
Super simple. Every day gets a different color sticky note, and I've done this for years. I I use some other things too, but this is it. Obviously, it's like right here by my computer, right next to me. This is it, and
mm,
I just roll and I sit on Sunday mornings and go through and put them all together and make sure it all makes sense. And yeah, it's simple. I like simple.
yeah, it's simple and simple truly is best. So tell the listeners about your podcast.
Oh, yes. And that's how we met, which is super fun through
Yes.
a podcasting group.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been a podcaster since April of 2019, and I
Mm-hmm.
discovered podcasting actually from my husband. So his podcast started in August of 2018, and then I decided to be a podcaster. And I started with two podcasts, A Good Karma Success Coach and Crush It in Sales. But my husband in the fall, he looked me square in the face and he said, "You've lost your edge." And I was like, okay, what does that mean? And I had to do a deep dive, and I had been listening to too much content, listening to other people's shoulds and all that stuff. So I retired those two podcasts and started a new podcast in January called You Have the Power To. So it's definitely it's me really owning my confidence and also empowering other women and men to do the same. Do the same. You may not agree with everything that's said out there in the land. So if you're one of those people that you're like, I wish to become more confident in what I'm saying and be able to speak my truth, and also not worry about what everyone else does, because that's actually what takes you off your energetic alignment with the universe, then this is the podcast for you. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, thank you. Thanks for sharing that. My dogs are scratching their water bowl if anyone's wondering.
That's okay. That's all right. So, how can people connect with you, Melinda?
Yes. So Instagram's a really easy way to connect with me. My Instagram handle is Melinda, then underscore Van Fleet. My website's melindavanfleet.com. Pretty much everything's Melinda Van Fleet. So super easy. Yeah.
And of course, I will have a direct link so you can connect with Melinda as well as listen to her podcast.
Thank you.
Melinda, thank you so much for your time. I have truly enjoyed this conversation. I will definitely have to have you back.
You are amazing. Thank you, Janet. Thanks for all you share. You're amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.